My name is Jared James. If you aren't familiar with me, I'm best known as an entrepreneur that gets the unique opportunity to coach and train agents and brokers in the real estate world and speak at conferences in front of thousands of people. But it wasn't always that way for me. What separates me from so many others is that I've actually done everything that I want you to be able to do. For that reason, this is the place to come if you want to learn the strategies needed to succeed in today's marketplace. This is the Jared James Today Show.
Hey everybody, Jared James here, and welcome to episode 33 of the Jared James Today Show. As always, guys, thank you for watching. Make sure if you enjoy this one, give it a thumbs up, leave a great comment, subscribe and share it with somebody that you think will benefit from this. Today's episode, I'm going to, I'm talking to you guys all the time about where you get your content from. How do you get it? And I always say it comes from your users, it comes from your emails, it comes from the questions that are sent to you, it comes from these places. And today is no different. On this episode, we're going to talk about how to deal with bad reviews and comments online. Because as much as I've been talking about the new landscape of sales and real estate and the world in general and where things are going and all of that kind of stuff, these are the things that kind of come with that, right? Like there's a lot of unintended consequences, and while some of you are avoiding doing what I'm doing right now, which is video, because you don't like how you look and sound and everything else, some of you are also doing it because you are generally type A personalities. You are people. Like you love people to like you. You want them to accept you. You don't want them to say anything bad. And one of the things that happens once you start putting content out there into the general world is that it doesn't matter how great you are, you're going to get bad comments. You're going to get bad reviews. I mean, those are the worst, right? You work your tail off and all of a sudden somebody writes a review that you don't agree with, whether it's a client that was impossible, whether it's somebody you've never heard of and you're like, how did they even do this? They're just some kind of an internet troll that's going around doing this. And so many of you are avoiding this because you don't want the negative press. And what I'm trying to tell you is that getting all the positive reviews, getting the positive comments way outweigh the negative stuff that you can get. And by the way, it's almost like I talk about sales and I say, hey, the more no's you get, it just means the more yeses you're getting. If you're getting negative reviews, unless you completely suck at your job, it probably means you have a ton of great reviews. Like that's how it works, right? And people don't even trust people who have nothing but great reviews, okay? So something to keep in mind. I'm going to cover 5 tips with you guys. This is very practical here. You're going to want to share this with your colleagues. Watch this in your office. Share it online. Tag me, guys. I'd love to come in and make a comment there. Do that as well. But here's 5 things that we want to do in order to deal with bad reviews, bad comments online. Number 1, acknowledge them. It's really that simple. Like most people either delete them or ignore them or just don't want to have anything to do with them. Just acknowledge them, right? Like I literally had a situation once where somebody went on my fan page on Facebook and they gave it a 1-star review. And I saw the 1-star review and they didn't think that I'd ever see it, ever respond, ever anything. And I went in and I just kind of said, hey, I'm so sorry you had that experience. If you don't mind telling me, like, how come you gave us a 1-star review? Was it something we can do better? Was it something? And I just acknowledged it, right? And they first wrote back and said, is this really you? And then they said, oh my God, I didn't mean to do that. Like so many of you, they were struggling with their technology and they just literally were checking out my fan page and clicked on something and next thing you know, 1-star review. And once they said that, I said, God, no problem at all. Any chance you'll fix it? And they said, of course we will. And they changed it to a 5-star review. So I went from a situation where they didn't even mean to leave a review to they accidentally left one that I got a 5-star out of it, okay? And so just acknowledging it many times helps you. Just by going in and going, hey, is there anything we can do? Is there anything? Just go in and do that. Second thing you can do, have a sense of humor. Like, if you've been online for any amount of time, there are losers on there. Like, I mean, there are absolute trolls who no matter what you say, what you do, how much effort you put in, how great you are at your job, how their oxygen is going in and bashing. Usually their profile pic is an animal or some cartoon of an actual person. It's never the actual person. Usually it's these people who tell you what a loser you are, and yet all they do is jump around online and leave negative reviews because somehow this is how they get their jollies in life and whatever. And so with that person, you're not going to delete them. They didn't write anything that was out of this world, terrible, that's offensive to anybody below the age of 18 or, whatever. What you're going to do, though, is have a sense of humor. I had somebody once who wrote like a 3-paragraph negative comment on what a life-sucking, dictator of a terrible person that, just terrible person. And I just went in and I wrote something like, somebody needs a spa day. ... Like, we're good. That's all we needed. Like, I'm not going to spend my time replying to this person who clearly, look, one of my sayings, we don't rationalize the irrational. Like, you've ever been in an argument with somebody, you ever had a situation where someone did something that they shouldn't have done, and you're going, how could they do that? I said this, they said that. You don't rationalize the irrational. You're never going to make an irrational person or an irrational action sound rational. It's not how it works. And while we want to make it right, because that's our personality, we want it to make sense, we're coming from our filter, our lens, our rational brains. You're not going to rationalize the irrational. Have a sense of humor. Someone else wrote a real long negative one once. It just went crazy, and they were waiting for my response. I can't wait to see I think they actually wrote that. Can't wait to see what he says to this, And I went in and I just used that Bitmoji, new phone, who dis? And I moved on. Like, in other words, you don't matter. Like, whatever. Go troll someone else, okay? So have a sense of humor, guys. Don't give someone authority over you like as if they're your mother, as if they're your spouse, as if they're your kid, as if when you wouldn't notice them if you saw them on the street. You see what I'm saying? Don't give people that kind of authority. Just have fun with it. Understand that, I have a rule, especially when it comes to the internet and especially when it comes to just my life in general. My self-esteem doesn't come from you, if I can be very honest. My self-esteem doesn't come from you guys, because I will have thousands of you that will tell me I walk on water, and then I'll have others of you that hope that I step into traffic. My self-esteem doesn't come from either one of you, right? My self-esteem comes from my family, comes from the people closest to me, comes from the people that actually know me. You got to remember, guys, like, just like somebody who writes all these negative things and does whatever, and they don't even know you, and they don't even whatever, most of the people who say all the positive things and everything don't either. So if you're not going to buy into one, you can't buy into the other. And that's kind of how I live my life, right? Like, my resume is who my kids say I am. This is how you live, okay? So don't allow it to throw you off. Focus on the positive sides of what happens with these reviews, because we know that when you get Zillow reviews and on Realtor.com and all these, but Yelp now and Google and all these review places, these positive comments on your social posts, we post them all the time, guys, in our Facebook group, Jared James Coaching, the Facebook group, and on my Instagram and this stuff, these positive testimonials that come from our students and what it did for them, and they can't imagine it without it, whatever. That far outweighs any kind of negative that you can get from some person who doesn't even know you, don't give someone more power than they actually deserve, okay? Third thing, allow your community to do their job. Like, if you've been doing what I've been teaching you up until now, you're not out there on your own. You're not on the internet on your own. You're not, like, I built a community. Like, the more you're out there, the more you post, the more you engage with people, the more you put out good stuff, the more that you're a force for good more than you are somebody who tears people down, you build a community. Like, I dare you to go into our Jared James coaching group and say something negative about me. I dare you to go on my Instagram and say some negative nonsense about me. I don't even need to defend myself, because my community will come in and rip that person apart and just like, what are you thinking? Like, what are you... Because I built a community. And so if you're doing everything that we're talking about doing up till now, build a community and allow the community to do their job. Because one of the greatest testimonials you can get is when somebody writes something negative, when someone leaves a negative review, and it's not even you that jumps in first and tries to make it right, your community starts jumping in and going, that's not the experience I had at all. How can you even say that? This person worked their tail off for me. This is the best experience I ever had. This was one of the most stressful times in my life. My mother had just died, and we were trying to sell her house, and we were trying to, and how can they work their... Let your community do their job. That ultimately speaks louder than anything you're going to say or anything like that, okay? Fourth point, don't delete them unless... So in most cases, I do not recommend deleting people, deleting comments. You can't really delete reviews, but deleting comments, deleting those kinds of things, because then what happens is they come back and go, I see you deleted my thing, and now you look even worse, and now you even, whatever. The only time you start getting into deleting people or banning people from your stuff or deleting their comment on a thread, or if is if they're, number one, consistently coming in and that's the only thing that they're trying to do, okay? If I had somebody who specifically was in our Jared James coaching group on Facebook and was doing nothing, but every time a post came up, they're going either negative, 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 negative. I know that they have one purpose. They don't actually have a beef. They're just a loser, right? So I'm going to get rid of them because that's not helping anybody. It's not constructive at that point. They're literally just doing it for that. And I'm not going to delete, by the way, and it happens occasionally, a comment on a Instagram thread of mine or on a Facebook thread or on a YouTube thread or on something like that. I am not going to delete that unless they're writing something that's just so profane or so just out there that it's really just not appropriate for anybody to see. They're just out of line, you know, they're just whatever. Like, I'm not going to delete that. And by the way, to my earlier points, I can remember, I want to say like a month ago, I had an Instagram post that had nothing to do with this particular thing. And someone wrote on my Instagram post and they said, you know, I'm really disappointed. I hear you say this all the time. I follow you. I really look up to you, whatever. But your team dropped the ball with blank. And nobody's gotten back to me. And nobody, you know, whatever. And rather than delete it, I wrote them back and I said, I'm so sorry. And this was public for everyone to see. It's still there. I said, I'm so sorry to hear that. You know, while we strive to do our best, we're never perfect. I need to know what situation you're talking about. I need to know who you were talking to, and I need to figure out what's going on. We'll make this right. I did that. We found out who it was. I went to that person. They showed me their notes. They showed me how many times they followed up with this person. They showed me how many times this person just wasn't responding. Like, this was not our fault, right? And so I didn't go back in and bash that person and say, I knew it, for everyone to see, you know, you're full of nonsense, you know, whatever. I just said, hey, I talked to so-and-so. She's been trying to get a hold of you. She's calling you again right now and sending you an email. We want to make sure that we get this right, whatever. And we did that. We didn't throw her under the bus. We didn't throw my company under the bus. We were just very honest about it. And all of a sudden, later on, we took care of her, whatever. Later on, she wrote on the exact same thread, you have the best team. Thank you so much. It was just miscommunication. My bad, you know, whatever. And she went on there and corrected the situation. And it was because I didn't jump in there and get scared that people were going to see it. I wasn't afraid that people would read the reviews and go, oh, look, they've outed us. We're done. We screwed up. We, you know, whatever. I just dealt with the situation at hand. And honestly, there was a part of me that got excited about it because I have no issue when a negative comment or something like that comes up because people don't believe it when it's negative, right? Like when you read nothing but positive, nothing, you kind of go, it's kind of like when people go to your testimonials page on your website and they're like, well, I'm not quite sure yet. Let me go look at your, this always has boggled my mind. Do you have any testimonials you can send us? And then that makes them feel better. Are we going to send you bad testimonials? Like, I don't to this day even understand why that makes people feel so much better, but it does. And so that happens, all right? So my point is, don't delete them. Like, don't leave them there. Let people see things that aren't necessarily 100% the best. It actually, in many cases, if you are who you say you are and you do what you say that you do, it actually reinforces for people, oh, this is realistic. Like, this is, people are smart. Like, they're not going to believe things that are out of the norm for everything else someone's written. And the fifth thing, stick to the facts, not emotion. So people treat comments and reviews much like they treat a customer service line. If I were to ever engage with some of you who are completely sweet, nice people, but if I engaged with you on a customer service line, I would think you're the devil incarnate. Because something about that customer service line makes us go all in, crazy, like, I'm not gonna do this, I want everything, I want whatever, and we turn into this other psycho, like other person, you know, whatever, because we're on a customer service line and we feel like we gotta go all at it to get everything that we need, that we know, whatever. Sometimes people get like that when it comes to negative comments or reviews. They go to the other extreme. But the thing is, you as the professional, you can't do that, right? You have to stick to the facts, not emotion. And that means that many times you're gonna reply to people and you're just gonna say, hey, I'm really sorry that you had that, that you feel like you had that experience. Remember, we're not justifying you had that experience. I'm really sorry you feel you had that experience. We did everything we could in our power to make sure that wasn't happening. We were following up, we were doing this, we were doing whatever. I really hope in the future, if we get the chance to work with you again, you feel like you had a different experience, but I promise you we'll give it every effort we have. And you didn't disregard them, but you're also kind of in code letting people know, I'm sorry that you feel you had that. Because when people see that kind of stuff and they see the negative review and they see you respond and say, hey, we really were trying our best, whatever, they know that there are just difficult people out there. People are smart. Give them the credit that they deserve. There is many times that I will go look at a place, think about going somewhere, and I'll read a review, and I'll go, that person's just a jerk. You're never going to please them. It's never going to happen. And that's exactly what happens with you too. People see that stuff, they see the reviews, and the actual review will not have as much power as how you respond to that review. Okay? So you respond not with emotion, but with facts, and let the public see it. And again, if you have a community, they're going to come to your defense. Okay? Here's one thing I really want to end with when covering this topic here. And it's that bad reviews just mean that you matter. Like, that's it. Like, get excited about bad reviews because they mean that, unless you only have 10 reviews and all 10 are bad, like I said, then you got some work to do. But overall, for the majority of you listening right now, bad reviews mean you matter. Nobody gave me a bad review when I didn't matter. Nobody talked behind my back when I didn't matter. Nobody, like, you guys see where I'm going right now? None of this stuff happens if you don't matter. The fact that people care enough to go spend the time means that you matter. So that should matter to you. And then the last thing I want to say to you is something that I wrote I can't remember, it was my last book or the book before. I think it was my last book. And I said, look, nobody can drive you crazy unless you give them the keys. Okay? And so I know that you're a people pleaser. I know that you want everybody to work well with you. I know that you want everybody to love you. You want everybody to refer you. You want everybody. But if you truly live in a world where every person loves you and every person, then you haven't grown enough. Because when you grow to a certain level, it's just economies of scale. That's what happens. People, you become a target. And people will say negative things, they'll do negative things, they'll mean negative things and everything else. But what you can't allow is for that to get into your, nobody can drive you crazy unless you give them the keys. And guys, I'm telling you right now, this was something I had to work on for so many years, because when you first start getting the whole power of the internet and negative reviews and all this kind of stuff, it can be something that really affects you, right? But ultimately, where does your self-esteem come from? How do you know whether you're doing a good job or not? It doesn't happen from people outside of you that really don't have your best interest anyway. Nobody can drive you crazy unless you give them the keys. Okay, guys? So I hope you enjoyed this. Do me a favor. If you've ever gotten a bad review, I want you to type yes in the comments below and let me know how you handled it. Good, bad, or indifferent. You may not have handled it correctly. Just tell me, yes, I deleted it. Yes, I swore back at them. Yes, like, tell me what you actually did. And as always, guys, like I said, make sure you like this, leave a comment, subscribe. I know we're getting really close to a big number there. Share it with someone you think that would benefit from it, guys. I hope this was helpful for you. As always, make sure also to connect with Jared.com. I'll talk to you guys soon. Hopefully I'll see you at a city somewhere in the very near future. Have a great one. Talk to you soon. Hey there, you, and I am talking to you in particular, person that made it to the end of my video. It means the world to me. But if you made it to the end, I'm hoping that you'll take a second and subscribe right here. Make sure you share that with all your friends, by the way. They're in real estate, sales, entrepreneurial, whatever it happens to be. By the way, if you're looking for a speaker for your upcoming event, click right here to get some more information. And as usual, if you have a question you want me to personally respond, just connect on social. You can click right over here and see all the platforms I'm on. I hope to hear from you soon. Have a great one.